Christy. I am recording this testimony from Lagos, Nigeria, and I would like to thank God for blessing me with the fruit of the womb after several years of miscarriages. When I got married in 2021, we got pregnant almost immediately after we got married. My husband and I were very excited because we wanted to start building our family immediately. So we're excited about it. But men and brethren, that was not to happen because a few months afterwards, we lost the pregnancy. At first when I was told that the pregnancy was not viable, I was really in pains, and at that time the most important thing was for them to do everything to make sure that I have that baby. But after the evacuation was done and I faced reality, the most important thing on my mind at that time was how to survive, because with the evacuation came several complications. I couldn't sit, I couldn't walk anymore, I couldn't hold anything anymore, I couldn't sleep. I was placed on very high drugs, medications to help me sleep at the hospital, and it continued for a very long time. And at a point, the hospital was perplexed. They were wondering why all of this was happening, and I was even sent to another hospital, bigger hospital, to conduct the MRI and all of that, just to confirm that no nerve or no part of my brain was affected. And at the point where my husband was so worried because I was using a wheelchair afterwards and all of that. Fast forward to so many events after that. Miraculously, by God's Spirit, I got healed and I was back again. And then I got pregnant the second time. We were so excited about this pregnancy, but again, we lost the pregnancy, and then the complications came with losing the pregnancy. I was having issues moving, walking. My husband would practically take me to the washroom or anything I needed to do at that point. My husband would hold me and he was teaching me how to walk again, just as though I was a baby. It was really a very terrible time, and at that point, because I didn't like my state, I would stubbornly want to do things, hold things, assist in the house. And, as a result of that, I was breaking things because I couldn't hold that. My grip was not strong at all, and that happened with the second pregnancy, and we lost the pregnancy. And then we got pregnant the third time, and this third time was hell. If I had faced different issues in the past, this one was like times 1,000. It was something else. And when we got pregnant this third time, we lost the pregnancy. But because of the trauma that we had in the past with evacuations and all of that, we decided that this time around, we spoke to the doctor, and he said, well, I could give you some pills, and it will take out the fetus without, evacuation. I said, okay, let's try that. And then that was it. And men and brethren, I bled for 7 months. 7 months. The hospital, the doctors could not even know. They could not detect where I was bleeding from, why I was bleeding. They couldn't detect. Even when they tried to do everything to check, they could not detect why I was bleeding that much. I remember one of the days my husband and I had gone to church to worship, and as usual, I would tap him to take me to the restroom if I needed to use the restroom, because I wasn't very strong at the time. And as I tapped him and he was about helping me up, he just signaled that I sit down. And I was wondering what's up, only for me to look around on the chair. The blood was so much that it was dripping, it was dripping. It was out, like it was coming out from my body, dripping on the floor. It was so much. Quickly, my husband took off his jacket, cleaned the chair, and took me out of church. The idea was to quickly take me home, clean me up, and take me to the hospital. But again, that was not to be. As soon as we got home, the bleeding became like times 100. I was bleeding from everywhere, from the staircase into the sitting room, blood everywhere, into the room, the restroom, everywhere was filled with blood. It was as if a tap was opened and blood was pouring out of me. That was the 7th month. I was pouring blood. I was not bleeding at this point. I was pouring out blood. It was so much that my mom, slumped. Like she saw the amount of blood coming out from me, and then she slumped. And at that time, I just knew that I wasn't going to make it. I saw my life flash past my eyes, and I just knew that I was going. And I was just saying, God, at this state where I was, slipping into unconsciousness, just give me the strength just to say thank you to my beloved husband for everything, just to even say goodbye to him. That was all I was asking God for, just the strength to say goodbye, because I was just ready to go. I just felt that our union had only brought him so much pain. So I was just feeling, let me just let go. Just then I drifted out, and that was the last I could remember. I went out of, this world. I was out there. My husband and other people would confirm that I actually died at that point. And I noticed that my spirit was hovering around the sitting room. I saw my husband screaming for help, running around, calling neighbors. I saw some of my neighbors coming. They took water from the fridge. Some took ice blocks, some took spoons, trying to, put it in between my teeth. I was calling. I was like, can't you see me, babe? Can't you see me? He couldn't see me, And while I was rushed to the hospital, life came back into my body. And that was how I came back to life. At that point, we wanted to take a break because the whole thing had taken a toll on us as a family. We didn't want any of the pregnancy story again. But as a mother, as a woman, I really wanted to carry my baby. I desired to carry my baby. I wanted to carry my baby. We started again going to the hospital, meeting with consultants to know what the issue was. And Pastor Jerry, it was from one surgery to the other. Funny enough, they were not seeing anything, but they would just tell me, let's do this one, let's try this one, we'll try this one, and they wouldn't see anything. They'll say, let's try this one, we'll try that one. They wouldn't see anything. And I became like a lab rat. They were just testing me. We're spending money. There was no saving. We're using up all our finances, just to get solution. Meanwhile, they were not seeing anything. At that point, it would have been easier for me if they had told me this is the issue. In fact, there was this particular surgery. My husband was with me in the theater, and at a point when he saw what I was going through, he had to tell them to stop. The pain was excruciating. It was so bad, And then fast forward to 2024, I was just scrolling through the street of Facebook, and then I saw you praying in the afternoon. I was like, okay. And somehow it just triggered my spirit. I said, okay, let me make more findings, find out when, you're always praying. And that was how I got hooked up. And I would wake up, I would pray in the morning, I would do everything. My faith began to grow. I was a Christian fervent, but with the whole thing happening, my faith dropped. But when I started praying, my faith began to grow. And then there was this particular day, Pastor, that you prophesied to women looking for the fruit of the womb. You just told us that it has entered already.
Oh, you woman, the last menses you saw is the last you will ever see her. For your baby has already entered. Your baby has already entered. Your baby has already entered. Receive it right now.
My husband and I had actually made a short trip to Ghana at that time, and I was praying from our hotel room, and as soon as you made that prophecy, that declaration, I just tapped him. I was cold, I was shivering because the weather in Ghana was very cold at the time, but I just called him. I said, come and do your part, come and play your part. Pastor has prophesied. Oh yeah, come and do, come. And that was how we got pregnant. I realized that we were pregnant, and we were excited about it. But then again, Pastor, oh my God, the story started again. I was having the same feeling. There's this strange sensation I feel whenever I get pregnant. It will look as if I was sitting, or I am sitting in a pool of water, as if I'm sitting on a river. Then as soon as I had this one, being the fourth pregnancy right now, I still having that same feeling, that exact same feeling came, at the point my faith was almost going down. It's like, God, not again. I can't lose this pregnancy. And then I listened to the testimony of the woman who had a growth, I think, and then she tied the sound box around her neck. Yeah, something like that. So that night when I slept, I took my gadget, I wrapped it around my stomach, and then I told my husband, I said, peradventure I sleep off, please just keep replaying this for me. And that was just how the journey, continued until my faith grew to the point that I became angry in my spirit. I became angry in my spirit, not again. I said, the devil, you cannot use me. You cannot use me. You cannot use me as your playground. Not anymore. And then I petted my baby. Oh my God. It was so seamless that even on the day I had her, I was walking. Can you imagine? I was walking. Can you imagine? Labor came, we went to the hospital. In a space of 45 minutes, less than that even, I had her. The most beautiful baby you would ever set your eyes on. God gave her to us. Pastor, I'd like to thank you. I really like to thank you. You've inspired me so much to pray. You've grown my faith and that of my family. And I would like to return my daughter back to the Lord. I want to return her back to the Lord. I'd like to thank you for being an inspiration, not just to me, but to this generation. And dedicating her again on this altar. She belongs to the Lord. She will do great and mighty things for the Lord and for the gospel. Thank you so much for listening. God bless you, sir. Thank you.